3 years ago this January, I came trucking into Northern California. I had never been to Northern California before in my life. I'd never even seen a picture of it. And I was coming out here to begin a process of schooling, which I think may last until the Lord comes. But I began that process, and I got out here. And I got here on January 4th, 1982. Now, I don't know if that means anything to you. It means two things to me. The day I got in California, and I think the day Northern California was underwater. That was the day the floods were hitting. In fact, I crossed the Golden Gate Bridge 1 hour before they closed it because of everything in Marin County, as I called it at that time, Marin County. Everything that was north of the bridge was closed, flooded, and even Santa Rosa, you couldn't get through because the highway was flooded. And so I ended up getting to the seminary. I got there right as the lady was leaving because all the power was off. I got my key and a place to stay, and I went to a dark room and waited for school to start. The next week, I was going to be starting a Greek class, which was going to make a lot of demand on me. It ended up being 4 hours a day in class and 7 hours a day studying for the next class. It was one of those condensed things that would kill you. And so I was getting ready for that. I had about 4 days to relax in between. And so I had the perfect way of relaxing. That Sunday afternoon, the NFC Championship football game was on TV. My father had trained me well. Ever since he taught me my first 2 words, Dallas and Cowboys, I had become a football fan. And it just happened that both Dallas and Cowboys were playing that week. And in fact, they were playing against a team that I just happened to be in the city of now for the first time in my life, San Francisco 49ers. And so I found some other students who had a key to the president of the seminary's home. He had given it to them just specifically so they could watch that game. And we went there, and we had a perfect view of San Francisco. You know, the opponent right there, that's them. And it couldn't have been better staging. Here was Dallas Cowboys, coming in. Tom Landry was the apostle of the pigskin as far as I was concerned, coming into town, into San Francisco. And you can imagine what a boy alienated to Oklahoma would think of San Francisco being, the media was my whole information about it. And so I was thinking as I was coming in, Granola City was all I was told, that I would be surrounded by fruits and flakes and nuts and things like that. And that, the place where women are women and so are the men. And this was going to be, San Francisco. I thought this is the perfect opponent for Dallas to take on. The game started, and, it went back and forth if you watched that game. Dallas would get ahead, then San Francisco would get ahead. It's back and forth all the way through the game. And it came to the fourth quarter with not much time left. And Dallas went ahead, just far enough where it would take a touchdown in the last remaining minutes for San Francisco to beat them. And so I was so excited. I said, there's no way they can do it. All we got to do is just stop them once, and that's it. And so I remember San Francisco. They were an upstart team as far as I knew. They had a skinny guy with a number 16 and a license plate on his back for quarterback. And so I thought, he couldn't do much. And he seemed to do pretty well. And came to the fourth quarter, and he got the ball, and they just kept completing passes. And they got all the way down to about the 20-yard line, and it came up 4th down. And it was the last chance for San Francisco to win that game. And the skinny guy took the ball again, and he took it and he ran back, and a couple of big Dallas guys started chasing him. And so he ran toward the sideline. And all you could see was the Dallas guys all around him. And then the football shot up between their arms, and it went toward the end zone. And some guy named Clark Kent, or Dwight Clark, jumped up like Superman and caught the ball and came down with it. And San Francisco won that game. And my second thought, after the first thought of jumping off the bridge, was that we lost. And I'm sure San Francisco people were saying, we won. Years later, it took me to get over that, but I've come to the reality that I didn't lose that day. In fact, the state of Texas didn't lose that day. The city of Dallas didn't lose. The people who were in the stadium rooting for both teams did not win or lose. Even the people who are in the Dallas organization who support the team, pay the bills, do those things, did not lose that day. The people who lost were the ones who put on the equipment, dressed, went out there and knocked heads and decided the outcome of that game. Those were the players, the ones who won or lost. My heart was with them, believe me, to the totalest extent. I was supporting them. But in reality, I had never put on a Dallas Cowboy helmet. I had never put on their equipment. I had never stepped on the same field with them. So it would have been foolish for me to call myself one of the football players. I was a supporter, as best I could define myself. I watched, but they lost. I watched, but San Francisco won. And you're probably wondering, what is this? NFL highlights. It's not, because there's a direct correlation that you can make to the Christian life. Because we live in a country that has a great majority that call themselves born again. A great majority that would say the name label Christian. That refers to me. But then we live in a country with churches who, I don't think one of them would say, I've got too many players on my team. We've got too many players and not enough to do. That seems to be a shortage that we have. It's an obvious reality. And the Apostle Paul wrote Ephesians chapter 6 for players. He didn't write it for spectators or financial supporters. He wrote it for those who wanted to play. He said, this is the equipment that you're going to need if you want to play the game.